Welcome into week 4 of high school football. I'm Andrew Banstra, and this is the final drive. Let's get into it with our game of the week. A Badger Large battle. Milton has been magnificent this year, and they put their undefeated record on the line at Oregon. The Panthers coming off a loss, their first of the year at Sun Prairie East. Grab your popcorn, folks. This should be a good one. Scoreless in the first quarter, and Milton's Mr. Do-It-All, Lucas Weinert, comes up with a big special teams play. He's a receiver, a corner, their kicker, and a punt blocker. He recovers it in the end zone for the early score. What a play. And later, final seconds of the first, and the Panthers pounce. Ethan Pegels puts it downfield for Romani Wright, who comes away with it with the big-time chunk play, setting up Oregon for this. Pegels dances out of the pocket, buys himself some time, and threads the needle, finding his man Braden Evans for the score, but the Redhawks would respond. Their QB, Jake Cummins, fools everyone, including the cameraman, and finds Caden Pernot, who would not be denied. Milton wins it and stays undefeated, 28-6, the final score. Elsewhere, Cambridge just keeps on crushing it. They would down Deerfield 55-7, improving to 4-0 themselves. And what a bounce-back win for Poynette. A tough test for them tonight against Waterloo, but the Pumas pounced back in a big way, taking down Waterloo 36-0. There were so many good games on tonight, we couldn't just have a game of the week. We needed a game of the night, too, and for that, we dip into Division 5 and send it to our very own Nash Dara.
Andrew, the Glarner Knights of New Glarus headed north to the city of Richland Center to face the Hornets. New Glarus hasn't lost a game, while Richland Center's only loss came at the hands of the reigning state runner-up, Potosi Cassville. Setting the stage for a match we may see again later down the road. It turned into a defensive battle in the first half after 2 field goals from New Glarus. Hornets quarterback Jaden Shep escapes the pressure and throws it downfield before it is stripped from the receiver's hands by defensive back Ethan Kolstad, who would get the first touchdown of the night. But the Hornets, down 13-0, would not go down without a fight, as Shep would get a pick 6 of his own. While dodging some tacklers, Shep would keep his team in the game near the end of the first half. However, this would be the only points of the night for the Hornets, as they fall to New Glarus 25-7.
Thank you, Nash, and let's get back into the Big 8 for a big-time matchup. Janesville Craig meets up with Middleton, a pair of 2-1 teams looking to establish themselves atop the conference. But you can't do that without withstanding the craziest plane ride of your entire life and, of course, taking care of business in the Big 8. We head to the second half. Janesville Craig driving, trying some trickery, but Middleton's Anthony Politeri with the deflection. How about this? Playing some pinball. And who finds it but Espen Achenbach? His arms corral the interception, and it leads to this for Middleton. Joey Pasaglia, play action, fakes out everybody and finds Luke Sheehan for the score, putting the Cardinals up by 4 scores. They go on to win it. 31-0 is the final. After surviving a scare last week, Waunakee is still undefeated. And honestly, as good as they've looked in the last few years is what they look like right now. This Warrior team looks like a state champion squad of years past, looking to improve to 5-0 against Sun Prairie West. And this one was all Waunakee, marching down the field in the first quarter, finishing off a drive with what they do best, the ground game. Colin Murphy calls the first score of the contest 7-0. Later in the first, the Prairie Wolves looking for their first points, but the Warriors came howling. Wes Ducharme shakes things up, blocking the field goal attempt, and Chuck Farrell chucks up the deuces. You can forget about catching Chuck. Make it 13-0 Waunakee, who still wanted more. In the second, back to the ground game and give it to Jack Silverson, who jacks the tally up. Waunakee goes on to win it 41-6, the final score. Well, man, has Monona Grove been good this year. They suffered their first loss last week at the hands of Waunakee in that overtime thriller we mentioned. They look to get back into the win column tonight. Standing in their way, DeForest, a Norski squad needing a win, but Monona Grove wasn't going to let that happen. Silver Eagles leading 36-0 in the third and used the defense to tack on another two. A high snap for DeForest. Norski picks it up, but the Silver Eagles shut the door with a safety. Make it 38-0 Monona Grove. And later, DeForest would get on the board. They'd play it safe with the run call. Up the middle, Dalton Lee goes to eat that donut off the scoreboard, but that would be the Norski's only score in the contest. Monona Grove gets back into the win column, 38-8, the final score. Elsewhere, a barn burner in Platteville. How about this one? 40-38, the final score. And then headed over to Edgerton in what is hopefully the only win for the Crimson Tide on the football field this weekend. Edgerton wins it, handing the Cheesemakers of Monroe their fourth loss of the season. To finish up, we make our way to the Mount, where Watertown wandered over to Mount Horeb with an upset on their mind. Meanwhile, the Vikings vying for their third win in 4 weeks. We start in the first quarter. Mount Horeb Barneveld's Brooks Hendrickson. How good is number 12? That good. A fantastic player is he, and he keeps it going this year with a 37-yard keeper to the house. And the Vikings were just getting started. Later, Hendrickson finds his man Henry DeRosier. He gets a nice block, throws a stiff arm, and says goodbye. Off to the races for a 33-yard score. And Hendrickson, well, he was just getting that wing warmed up. Later on, Kelson Baumgart catches a bomb and finds the end zone. How about this? Mount Horeb scores 3 times in the first quarter and climbs their way to the top of the scoreboard, getting the win over the Watertown Goslings 45-13. Elsewhere, Clinton, how about a barn burner? You talk about this, a defensive battle. 2 undefeated teams, Clinton and Beloit Turner. Clinton comes out on top 6-0, the final in Beloit. And how about this one? A high-scoring battle between Lake Mills and Belleville, but the Elcats come out on top 47-14, the final score.